Hi everyone, we're just going to give people another minute to join. Hi everyone, we've still got a couple of other people still coming in, so we'll just give them one more minute and then we'll get started.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us this evening. My name is Steve Tabb. I've been running most of the training sessions to date. Thank you for joining us. This is the team admin session for the GMS, the game management system. We have done a session on team admin before. That was on Monday night, and that was recorded. That recorded version is on the England Hockey website already. We had a bit of feedback that some of the people logging into the team admin process felt we probably went into a bit too much depth about the project as a whole. So we're going to try and skip through some of those bits a little bit quicker tonight. If you want to see that in more depth, do please feel free to review the video from Monday night. The main crux about tonight is getting to the points that you as team administrators, so team captains, people that are responsible for updating fixtures, will want to see in the system. So we'll get to that as quickly as we can, and we've got a presentation to show you, and then we can finish with some time for questions. So I will just share my screen and then I'll run through the presentation. So as I suggested, this is the team admin training session for the new game management system. This is part one about pre-season. We will be running some other sessions that are around once you're into the season, what's the sort of functionality and the things that you might want to take a look at doing. But this is very much the stuff that you need to know for the start of the season. Quick housekeeping, if you want to ask questions, do feel free to do that. We are pulling together an FAQs document which will cover answers to all the questions that are asked during this training session and all the other training sessions. In order to do that, please use the control box in the top right. You may need to click on the red arrow to expand the bar and then select the right option to then start typing into the chat box. Harriet, who's supporting me tonight, is going to collect all those questions. At the end of my presentation, we'll run through some of those questions, and those that we can't get through, or if we've got too many, we'll just log those in our FAQs document and get that uploaded. On the website, the England Hockey website, we will then have videos from these sessions, some tutorial videos, which will be a sort of quick how-to guide on how to do various bits of functionality on the system, the FAQs, which I've just mentioned, and then you can also link into additional training if you want it in drop-in sessions. So basically, this will be the core training with some video support, and then the drop-ins are for you if they'll just be shorter sessions where you can just sign up, pop in, ask us a question. If you've been trying to do something that you can't get it to work, pop in, ask us a question. The other main thing to be aware of is the support email address, gms.support@englandhockey.co.uk. If you ping in an email into there, there's about 3 or 4 of us that are manning that inbox. We'll get a response to you, even if it's just an acknowledgement of the email to start with, and then we can work on it. We may be able to answer your questions straight away, but please direct all your emails through to that email address. Very quickly, why we're introducing the game management system. At the recent AGM, it was voted in favour of our proposed structure fit for the future. Essentially, that was around changing the governance of the sport, and so that everything was becoming standardised and moved to the new 8 areas. By doing that, we now have the opportunity to introduce standard set of rules for competitions and standard league structures, which means that actually it's possible for the first time ever to have one system that is able to help facilitate competition administrators and clubs and teams to manage their fixtures and their leagues. Historically, with the 5 regions, they all had different systems, they all had different websites, they all had different rules, they all had different league structures. So you couldn't have one system that did it all. We're also very aware that technology is moving on, and we need to adopt technology to help with the processes of managing games. We want to make everybody's life easier. So critical thing from a team administration perspective, and we'll touch on it tonight, is about team sheets, match reports, and results. We know that we have historically lived in a world of paper copies of match sheets, regulations around having to phone results in, text results in, scan your paper copy of a match sheet, send it in, make sure it's signed by 2 umpires who you might have to chase after because they're dashing off to another game. You get a piece of paper, it's throwing it down with rain, and you're trying to fill it in, and that's the bit we're trying to get rid of from a team admin perspective. That's the key selling point. You enter the result once, everything's then processed through the league. We've got a better record. We can do it on your phone, on the pitch side. So using this technology that's now available, we're hoping to make all of your lives much easier. Mentioned it already, because of the fact that we've now got these adult leagues that are all taking the same structure, we've got the same set of regulations. Those adult regulations are out this week, the standard set of adult regulations. They're currently with all the area adult competition chairs, and they're just going through the final processes of checking that they're comfortable with all the content, and then they will be released this week. There is a similar set for juniors, not quite signed off by all the areas yet, so there's a bit more work around those before they can be released. Finally, the other reason for introducing GMS, we know that a lot of leagues historically have used Fixtures Live. For most of you that use Fixtures Live, you'll know that it's being decommissioned. the company that bought Fixtures Live a couple of years ago has decided they no longer want to support it. So as part of the Fit for the Future structure, we as England Hockey made a commitment to supporting all the leagues to make sure that there was a replacement system that was available for them to use at no cost to the clubs that want to be involved in the league systems. We're also aware that in some areas, clubs have had to use 4 or 5 different processes, different systems to enter their results into. We're not saying we're getting rid of the fact that a club is going to have to enter their results onto a system, but what we are saying is it's now going to be one system. So whichever team you are in the club, you will use the same system as everybody else. So hopefully making it easier for everybody and standardizing it. We have been asked a lot of questions about integration with Pitch Hero, Teamo, Club Buzz. I'll touch on that later when we get to the information that needs to be added in. This is a little bit around that exact conversation, the Pitch Hero, Teamo, Club Buzz type conversation. We are not trying to replace those. We are not delivering a club management system. Those systems and others like them, Love Admin, etc., they're club management systems. They do match reports, they do player availability, they do selection, they do payments, etc. We're not doing that. There is a bit that would link into the selection element, but that's about as far as the crossover goes. And we're also very aware that some clubs don't have those systems at all. And so this system can help to support them with electronic versions and online versions of membership databases. What we're looking at is making the jobs easier and manageable for the competitions admin, so the leagues and the divisional secretaries. We're trying to make the process of managing the fixtures and venues for you as clubs more effective, and particularly with regards to the venues, there's a real opportunity to make richer, deeper data that we hold around how much our pitches are used. One thing that we've never been able to do historically is track quite how many people are on hockey pitches around the country at any given time. With this system, we will have that. And what we can then use that for is conversations with the FA, with the RFU, with Sport England about quite how much pitches are needed. And we can be proactive about protecting and growing the number of pitches that we have for people to be playing hockey on. One other thing that will help in terms of aligning to the Fit for the Future structure and also supporting clubs, we're looking to register all players. One of the things we'll talk through tonight is players having to register. So in order to take part in a competition that is being run through the GMS, a player must register. Now that includes adults and juniors, dependent upon the competition that's being run. Localized friendlies and things like that, festival games that are taking place with under-8s, whatever, that probably won't run through GMS to start with. So we're not expecting those kind of players to register, but everybody that's taking part in the organised activity that's being run through the GMS will need to register as players. Other things that currently take place with various different systems, Sport Lomo, etc., about paying entry fees into the England Hockey Championships, we'll be picking that up. There's then the fact that this system is built off the initial structure that some of you will know as OMS, the officiating management system to help with umpiring appointments. So that functionality already exists in there as well, and we're looking to potentially get clubs to be able to use that functionality to help appoint umpires. And then there's various other bits to help with the inter-team admin, so you've got one place to go so you can check where your games are against other teams, what time, what venue, etc. The final thing around players is, because players are registering, because we're capturing data that's linked to a player, we'll also be able to provide a far richer and deeper experience for the player. So they will be able to see their playing records. So how many games they've played, how many goals they've scored, how many cards they've picked up. That will develop over time, and so players will be able to engage a lot more with the sport around the data that's held with them. And we've already been asked about things like the club's fantasy leagues, and if you put the data in there, can it capture it in one place and use that data for fantasy league? Absolutely. Things like that are great, and we would love to get our system to support those things. So this session tonight, as I've touched upon already, it's sort of team captains, team managers, and then anyone who does admin for a team. That might be fixture secretaries, though we are aware that also fixture secretaries might be the club admin, because if a fixture secretary excuse me, a fixture secretary does all the fixtures for all the club. They're probably going to be a club admin level. But if you've just got individual people that do individual fixtures for a team, then this would be the team admin role. We're just going to cover what is looked at by a team admin. What does the system look like? What do you need to do? And how will the system work in terms of the match day process? What will happen? So before anything else, we'll go back to the point that I made earlier. Every player must sign up. We are going to send out communication in the next couple of days to the chair and the secretary of every club. Those details are the ones that are stored on the club portal currently, so we will email all of those people with details that they can then share with their membership around how to sign up, how to get their players to sign up. We will also be posting on our social media. We will also be posting website articles. We will also be emailing out to people, generally the main contacts in clubs, so that they can share those messages. That's over the next few days. The portal, the GMS will then open up next week for players, club admin and team admin to sign up. This is the process that everybody, all three of those need to go through. So they go to the same initial start place, but then I'll show you in a second what they do differently. So when you first go to that URL that's been shared, you either log in or you register. Obviously, if you've already got a login, you just use login. If you haven't, you click on register. By clicking on register, you will then be taken to the page that asks you what role you want to take on and then asks you for your email address. Within that drop down, there are the roles of competition admin, club admin, team admin, player. Always select the one that is the highest role for you. So you could well be a player as a team admin, obviously a team captain. Select team admin, and then you will have the capability to do everything that a player would as well. If you want to do a wider role, so you're a player but also the fixture secretary, select club admin, and then again, everything's hierarchical, so any access you would have had as a player or as a team admin, you also have as a club admin. So you select that, you enter your email, you press proceed. That will send your email address a verification code. The reason we do this is just to prove that it's not a spam email and it's not a robot trying to do this. So you'll then receive that into your email. You enter the verification code and press proceed. That will then take you through to the sign up. And this again is the same for all players and for all team admin, club admins, etc. You drop in and this form is the same as most forms. There are asterisks against every field that is mandatory. There are some additional fields in here that you might want to use. Now, the reason we've got these additional fields is, as I mentioned earlier, there are some clubs who perhaps don't have an electronic version of a membership database, and they might want to use this system for that moving forwards. So we've included these extra fields that people might want to use to capture data about their club members. They don't have to. The ones that they have to are asterisks. We have been asked a few questions by why we're capturing certain data. By all means, ping those into us if you have questions. The gms.support email address is the one to try. The gender question, we're doing some work around that, and just we're likely to be including a question there around which gender of game do you want to partake in, rather than asking for a individual's particular gender. This, we believe, means that it helps us tackle the challenges of non-binary identification and the other questions that other people might have around that. So we'll be focusing that around which gender of competition do you want to take part in, rather than asking people specifically what their gender is. And the reason we ask that is because a lot of the menus and options are driven by the gender of the competition. So just to recap, for the process for you to sign up as team admin, but also for players to sign up, you select your role, you add your email. The one point I didn't make earlier, and I need to stress, is that we don't want people to use generic club email addresses, because this is an email address that is linked to your own personal private information. So your name, dates of birth, etc., but also your playing history. If you use the address chairman@hockeyclub.com, and then you're no longer the chairman, and somebody else starts using that chairman@hockeyclub.com email address, they can log in to your details with chairman@hockeyclub.com, because they'll be able to refresh the password. And as soon as they do that, they'll get in and see your details. that clearly is not a good thing, and from a GDPR perspective, it's not a legitimate thing either. So please use your personal email addresses and not the generic club style ones. You'll get your code via the email to validate it's a valid email address. You'll enter that, your complete personal details, and then club administrators will have their access approved by England Hockey. You can have multiple club administrators per club. I did say on one of the sessions on Monday you could only have one. That's not right. You can have multiple ones. England Hockey will confirm those, and then club administrators will be able to approve team administration access and player administration access. Obviously, we're just doing the team admin bit tonight, so we're not going to go into that in a huge amount of detail. You can have 2 team admin per role, because when you set your team up, you have a primary contact and a secondary contact. The club admin can also do all of those roles for the team as well. So if you've got 3 club admin, you've then theoretically got 5 people per team that you can set up with access to do the process we're going to be talking through now. Once you have logged in, there is the opportunity to add more details. So the 2 core bits to focus on here are if you are a parent with children, this is where you would register under 18s. So you'd log in and then you can add children to your profile in the same way that details have been held previously around an individual. So you'd log in and you'd add a child to your profile. Every child will have 1 primary parent, but you can have multiple parents linked to the same child. And we capture the date of birth, so at the point at which a child turns 18, they will be prompted to be asked, do they want to be released from their parent so they can manage their own account? It's not an automatic thing, because we know that some players turning 18 may not be able to manage their own private details, etc. So that's one thing. And then the second thing is some regulations for leagues will require additional pieces of information. So if we use the EHL as a reference point here, you have to provide a photo for the EHL regulations. You also have to provide your nationality. So those details are where they're not required as a minimum standard when you first log in, but they are required to be added to your profile in order to take part within the EHL competitions. As you go through the league hierarchy, the league hierarchy and the structure, as you descend, obviously the regulations become more and more relaxed. So the requirement for data becomes more and more relaxed. But that is set by regulations for the league as opposed to the system forcing you to do things. Very quickly, alluded to it before, in order to do your role as a team admin and in order to be able to add these players to your team sheet, they have to exist on the system. Hence, you need to encourage everybody to set themselves up on the system. Literally takes a couple of minutes. We've had a few questions. What if somebody doesn't have a computer? Well, you can stand by them and help them. You've presumably got a computer or a phone that can work, so there's no reason why you can't stand next to somebody and do that process with them. What if people don't have email addresses? You could just make an email address up. There's plenty of free email resources out there that you can just set up an account, register them. Once a player's registered once, they potentially never have to log in again. But we just need to make sure that we're capturing that information for one person. Why can't you register all your players as a club person? Because we're requiring consent. Individuals have to provide the consent that they're going to share some of their data with us. If you simply load their data into our system, you would have to go through all of that process of collecting all their consent. The hassle of having to do that and proving that you've done that, we just thought it would work much better if you just actually just get other people to register themselves. So I think those are the main questions we've had. We will be sharing social media, website articles, etc. So please just share those out, stick them in WhatsApp groups, do whatever you do to communicate with your membership. That'd be great. And then in club admin, the club admins will be able to see who has signed up so that they can chase the 1 or 2 people that we know are always the difficult ones and are always the last to sign up for everything. And so they'll have a report that shows them who's signed up, and they can obviously then share that with the team admin so the captains can check they've got everybody they want. Okay, so we're now into the system. We're not providing live shots because we don't want to jump around the system too much. We've got screenshots of what you'll see. When you first log into the home page, this is what you'll see. The middle top part of the menu of the screen shows you any notifications or messages you've been sent since the last time you logged in. There's then details around any upcoming fixtures that are linked to the teams that you are an administrator for. So you might be multiple administrators, so you might have fixtures from 2 or 3 different teams. If you're only the admin for one team, you'll just see the upcoming fixtures for your one team. Everything within the system is driven by the left-hand menu. There's those options will be the core ones that you'll see. Whenever you're in the system, if you just want to get somewhere, just click on one of those menus on the left. Don't worry about going backwards and using scroll, like sort of navigation buttons. Just want to get somewhere, always click on one of these options on the left, and that will then take you through to a screen. All the screens are very similar. They have a bar at the top that has the ability to enter multiple or singular criteria to filter on. So you obviously you may not want to see every single fixture that you have for the whole season. You might want to just see the fixtures between a certain date. So you'll have the ability to search for those. You'll have the ability to choose by clubs, by teams. We'll see that screen in a minute. So set the filter, press search, and that will provide you the results. So if you're on the fixtures screen, it will give you the list of fixtures that meet the criteria. If you're on the competition screen, it will give you the competitions that meet that criteria. So as a team administrator, you will want to click on teams on the left-hand side, or potentially fixtures, depending upon exactly where we're trying to go. But if we click on teams to start with, you can then filter, as I've just mentioned, using the criteria along the top. You then press search. The system then provides you with a list if there's multiple responses. If there's only one, then it will bring up the screen that relates to the one team that you want the information for in that screen. So let's say somebody is the team administrator for Surbiton Threes. They only have access to Surbiton Threes, so when they search for any team name beginning with Serb, the only result that they'll see is Surbiton Threes. So that comes up straight away. This is the details for Surbiton Threes. The first screen gives you the core information about the team, so the name, what club it's linked to, the address. There are other tabs then that allow you to look at the fixtures and the competitions. So the competitions will tell you which competitions you are entered into as Surbiton Threes. The fixtures will obviously give you your fixtures. The alternative way to get to a fixture is use the fixtures menu on the left. Use the same thing. You've got a bar along the top, allows you to filter. You press search, you find the results. This is obviously, it's searching for a fixture on the 15th of September, so it brings up the fixtures between there that have been entered for this system. Someone's then clicked on this particular fixture, which is showing us the 19th of December 2021, Men's Premier Division, Wimbledon versus Surbiton. So the first menu comes up now with the fixture. If we'd gone through the previous screen here, where you go to fixtures, you'll then be given a list and you can click on the fixture. If you want to see the core information around that, always click on the thing on the left-hand column. So as you go to fixtures, it would give you the date and then the details. Click on the date, and that will return a very similar thing to what you're now seeing here. The fixtures screen for the fixture on the 19th to 12th. You'll see again along the top for the fixture, we've got fixtures, team sheet, and teams. Core bit to think about now is the team sheet. Oh, sorry, this is just showing you, the competitions that you've entered as a team. So if you just want to check that you are in the right place and your team's been entered to the right information on the screen, you would just click through to the competitions part. So this is the tab that just shows the Surbiton Threes are in London Men's Division 1. And then the core details are about who the team contact is, the gender of the team, and which area they're associated with. Right, now we go to team sheet. Sorry, I jumped ahead one slide. Once you've clicked on team sheet, you'll just see in the screenshot on the left here, it's showing the fixtures as we just looked at, then the team sheet, and you click on team sheet. Within team sheet, you just have a load of drop-down boxes. Those drop-down boxes are populated by the players that are listed as allocated to your particular squad. Any player can be allocated to as many squads as you want within a club. So if you've got players who regularly move between teams, or you don't know whether they're going to be firsts or seconds or thirds, just get that person allocated by the club admin to the first, seconds, and thirds. That means they will appear in the drop-down box. Drop-down boxes here. Apologies, I've got dogs outside. Drop-down boxes here on both the team sheet for the first team, the second team, and the third team. The only reason you might not want to add every player to every single team is if you do that, obviously the drop-down boxes then have lots and lots and lots of players in. So that's why you might want to limit it a little bit. But then simple process of just going through and choosing your team. Tick the box for captain, tick the box for goalkeeper. Shirt number down the left-hand side, that's a data entry field. So whilst it says some numbers here, you can overwrite those. You can change those for the shirt numbers on the players. We have been asked, and this is functionality we're going to be looking at, about whether you can store a shirt number against a player within their profile, so that automatically gets pulled through into every team sheet to save you from having to go, oh, what was Joe's shirt number again? Oh, he's 24, that's right. So we're looking at that. That's not going to be live for launch, so you'll just have to type it in. If a player is serving a suspension, the competition administrators will work with the disciplinary administrators to administer that ban. If a player is banned, currently serving a suspension, they will not appear in the drop-down, so you won't be able to select them. What we've also got here is, in some competitions, the amount of cards that a player has picked up has relevance within their regulations. So the system here is telling us that this player, Samuel Carr, has received a red card this season. So you can select him because he's now served his suspension, but it's still showing that he has a red card. And so you might want to take that into consideration in your selection. We are trying to make life as easy as possible for people. So there is the functionality to simply copy a previous selection. So if you're lucky enough to have a team that is pretty much the same every week, rather than having to select every name from every drop down, you can just go, I want the same team sheet as last week. That will copy over every name into your team sheet for this week from a fixture. You can do that, as you see, from the drop down on the right hand screen here. Use previous team sheet. You select the date that you want to use the team sheet for and press update. That will populate it. If you've got 11 players out of 13 the same, you should probably do that and then just change the 2 players manually that are different. So we're trying to make things as smooth and as easy as possible. So, and this is all available on your phone. You could do this pitch side. Once you've played the game, you then need to fill in the match sheet. This match sheet is the thing that is then going to be sent through to the system to process the results, automatically update league tables, and populate all the relevant information. The core detail that is required for the post-game part of the match sheet is the score. Now, how this works within the system is the home team captain, home team administrator enters a score. The away team captain enters a score. If both of those have put the same score, that is seen as verified. It locks it off and posts that result. So you don't need an umpire to fill in a form. You don't need them to sign a signature. You don't need to cross-check all this information. If the home team admin and the away team admin have agreed it's 4-2, then the result is 4-2. It's on the system, saved. What we also have the functionality for is to add in the additional details for that game if you want to, and if your regulations tell you that you need to. There are some lower divisions where the regulations will state you don't have to fill this in. There's a column for minute. You don't have to fill that in, but you could fill in the other bits. There are some competitions where you will have to fill in the minute. So let's say the EHL games. Obviously, you'll have a team official, a match official there as well, who is supporting, and they will potentially have all this data to share with you at the end of the game to help you with it. But for lower levels, you don't have to fill in the time, but you can. You then select what the event was that happened, which person took part in that event, so it'll be a player's name, which will be available from the drop down of the team sheet. Then you select what the event is, so field goal, penalty corner, penalty stroke, red card, yellow card, green card. We have been asked if we could include man of the match in there, because again, for fantasy league and all that kind of thing, that might be good, so we're looking at the potential of including that. But yeah, just to stress, you don't have to do any of these unless the league regulations tell you you have to. The rest of it is up to you whether you want to do that or not. So details, both team captains enter in the team details. If the scores match, it's published. It can be challenged if an umpire looks at the result and goes, hang on, that wasn't what the score was. So that can be challenged, but the process is for the team captains to sign up. If the team admin have entered different results, both of those results are saved, but it isn't then processed as a finalized result with the league table. And what happens is a notification is sent to the competition administrator to say, these two teams have entered different results. Now, it might be somebody just put 2-4 rather than 4-2 and they got it wrong, but the competition administrator can then contact those clubs and just confirm what the actual score was. Or if there needs to be some kind of hearing, they can process that and put that result on hold. The submission deadline will be set by the league regulations. Most league regulations will set it by 8 p.m. on the same day, but we're aware that obviously some of the lower fixtures don't have games till 6 o'clock at night, whatever, maybe the following day. So those regulations around cut-off about the match sheet will be specified by your regulations. Equally, the specification around the match result will also have a timescale associated with it as well. But those are set by league regulations, not the system. What will happen is that competition administrators will receive a report, will be able to run a report that shows when was a result received, and they can check that against the deadline for the competition and check if there's anybody that's not meeting the deadline. All of that data, as long as the results are matching, is processed as confirmed results. They feed into the table, which is held within GMS. So this information is all held within GMS. You probably won't have all of the tabs along the top of the screen because that's for a super user access. You'll have a limited number, but you'll be able to see the table of results with a little form guide on the right hand side, and that will come from the competitions option. So click on competitions on the left, find the relevant competition, e.g. division, click on that, and then look at the table. The information from here is also flowing into the England Hockey website and also the area websites, which are going to be launched in the next couple of weeks. They will have league tables stored for all the competitions that are taking part in their area. So there's multiple different places to look. Again, we've been asked about APIs and having the ability to present the data from here onto your club websites. That doesn't exist currently, and there's conversations happening around whether we want that to happen or not. Going back to then the integration with Pitch Hero, Timo, Clubbuzz, other management systems, you've just seen that you obviously have to enter team sheets onto the GMS system. We're aware that a lot of clubs do selection and they produce a team sheet on their own club management system. For the time being, that is going to have to be a duplicated process. You're going to have to manually do both. The main reason why is because we've been in conversations with those 3 providers and some others for about the last 2.5 years about sharing data. Every single one of those systems has completely different data structures. And so in order to set data up to share it, there's a lot of work that needs to be done both on our behalf and their behalf. So they all have to commit to the expense of doing it. It's also very difficult because we've got to go through a whole process of saying, well, if somebody changes something on GMS, should that overwrite Pitch Hero, as an example? Or if someone overwrites something in Pitch Hero, should that overwrite GMS? How do you set those rules? So there's still quite a lot of work to go on around that. We still believe that GMS is going to remove people and remove workload and make people's lives efficient, even though they've got to do those 2 processes, because what we're removing is having to enter stuff onto multiple systems, having to fill in match sheets, having to get umpires to sign match sheets. That's the bit we're removing, and not necessarily this availability selection piece that the club management systems do. What next? We're very aware the league starts in a couple of weeks, 2-3 weeks time. So we needed to make sure we had a system that was ready, fit for purpose to go. So we have not built everything in that we would like to. But what we have built in is the core stuff. So for launch, we're going to have formal leagues. We're going to have the formal knockout competitions organised and run through the GMS. The core admin roles are set up. So currently, as I say, we have competitions admin, club admin, team admin. We've got a disciplinary administrator, which is a slight aside, and then we've got players. We're aware that what we might want to do within a club admin role is break that into multiple things. So you might want a fixture secretary that can only see certain parts. You might want the club admin to actually have a membership role to it to approve the members. So that's something that will come at a later date. We've just got the standard 4 or 5 at the moment. We've built the user interface so that people can just log in, add their personal details. So that's available. We are collecting the essential data that competitions administrators need to run their leagues, and you guys need to take part in the leagues and know that players are registered and the right players are playing in the right places. and there is some reporting available for those that need it. Phase 2, which essentially starts as soon as we've launched and we're ready to go live, we'll move into phase 2. That's adding the ability for clubs to add their own friendlies to the system, increase the wider range of admin roles, like I've just mentioned, improve the user interfaces for all of those different administrators so that they can only access the screens they want to and actually access them in an easy format. Going to add data, so enhance the amount of data that's in there and what we're using, add dashboards to the administrative users, and we're going to look more at this integration with some of these other IT systems, plus also the sharing of the data with the area websites. Phase 3, we'll get schools to sign up and start using the system. We will improve the interfaces internally for the super admin users. We're going to load historic data, so we will take the data off Sport Lomo, we'll take the data off Fixtures Live, we'll load it in so that people have a much fuller playing history. And you can see how many games you've played for the last 10 years, etc. Increase the amount of reporting again for those that need it. And then after that, the aspirational picture is that this system will become so rich in data that it becomes a really great tool to advertise the sport, to empower people to engage with the sport, because they can see all these stats around how many games they've played, how many teams they've scored against, have they scored against every team in the league, all of this stuff. We're aware, obviously, of the things that happen in cricket with ECB. With their Play Cricket system, they send emails, tailored emails out to individuals in the sport. Every person that signed up to that gets a little email saying, do you remember when you scored 100 against this team last time you played them? Those kind of things. We're looking for all of that to really personalize the ability to communicate with everybody that plays in the sport. So that's where we're aspirationally going to get to, using that data and some of the greater insight around things that I've talked about, so that pitch usage, to help us influence pitch strategies. When we get all of this rich data, it will really help with increasing the visibility of the sport, increasing our ability to influence within the wider sport network, Sport England, etc. So that's where we're really wanting to get to. Training support. So this video is going to get recorded and loaded to the website. The FAQs, as I've talked about already, being populated, should be going live within the next day, if not later today. There is more training available. You can sign up to sessions in the same way as you did previously. Log into the Hockey Hub events page, so hockeyhub.englandhockey.co.uk/events. On there's all the events, training events we run, but the ones you'll want will be tagged GMS. Change requests. If anybody, once they're live on the system, thinks they really could benefit from a change to the system so that it would work better or more effectively, or give them something they don't have, there is a change request form on the England Hockey website. Fill that in, send it in to us. We will review those. We will work with the area competition committees and work out what the priorities are about those. We can't promise we will do everyone, but we do want everyone to send in every suggestion they've got, so that we can really look at making this system, the club's system and the players' system, to understand what's the best thing that we can offer to the people that play our sport to help improve their enjoyment of the sport. So, as I say, there will be a prioritization. There'll be a value analysis as well, just to see if we can afford it and how much it would be worth for every request. But please use that request form. GMS itself, once we're live, has a support hub in it. That's essentially a help menu. You go in there and there'll be documents teaching you how to do stuff if you can't remember, and just FAQs and things like that. So that will be live shortly after we've gone live with the GMS next week. And then, of course, there's always the email address, gms.support@englandhockey.co.uk to contact. So timescales. Competition administrators, the competition chairs have been in the system for the last few days. We're making sure that the competition administrators, so the divisional secretaries, have got access. Most of them are getting into it today. Yesterday, there's a few challenges around their access levels, not the system functionality, but just the access levels to those people. Getting all of that sorted so that they can all be on top of the system before next week, when we go live with the clubs and the players, and then they can be help to support the clubs with their fixtures and all the information there. Communications to the clubs and secretaries, club chairs and secretaries, as I mentioned, will be going out by the start of next week. And then we will be using various different communication mechanisms to encourage players to sign up. But obviously, if you can as well, that would be really helpful. And that covers the presentation. So I'm going to come off the presentation now and stop sharing my screen and see if Harriet's got any questions immediately that we can answer.
Hi, Steve. There's been loads of questions coming in, so please keep them coming because it's really helpful. I've tried my best to answer the ones that I can, but there's kind of some top themes coming through regarding under 18 players and whether parents will need to register them on the system.
Okay, so yes, they will. If they're taking part in a competition that's being run through GMS, the player will need to be registered. That will be a parent registering and then adding the children to their profile as players. So the initial registration will be done by the parent. Once they've been given access and it's gone through and the club administrator has confirmed them, then they can then go into that profile page and update their personal profile by adding players. So that's the under 18 players to that parent's profile.
Perfect, thanks, Steve. There's a few questions regarding kind of playing in maybe more local leagues or lower down the division pyramid, and just the requirements for them to have shirts in number order on the team sheet and putting exact scores in, and kind of how soon that'll need to be done before the game, because people are often.
Yeah. So those are set by the competition regulations, and very much in line with the fact that the lower down the structure is a bit less formal, a bit more casual, a bit more relaxed. There will be a relaxation around exactly what needs to be entered as you go down the pyramid. So, as I say, the only core things that have to be entered at every level is the score, because that's how we do the validation of the score. The other elements, it will be up to the regulations for that competition around exactly what has to be entered, whether it has to be entered in order format, whether it was the 12th minute or the 14th minute that a goal was scored. No one is going to come and check on that. So that information is almost for you more than it is for the competition itself.
Perfect.
I thought you might be asking the question about, can players register for more than one club?
I was about to say, you're reading my mind. That's also in there.
So I'll cover that one. Yes, you can. We're aware that people play in Masters, they play in cup competitions, etc. So once you've done your initial registration, you do your initial registration with your core club, so your primary club. That's the one you're likely to be playing league hockey for. Once you've done that, you can go into your profile and add to your profile by adding more clubs. The regulations state what happens with regards to which other clubs you can play for, but you can add theoretically as many clubs as you want to your profile, but you'll always have one that's specified as your primary club, and the primary club, or home club I think it's called, I can't remember exactly what it is the one that dictates which league team you're going to be playing for. Then you can obviously be added to guest for under 16s or a Masters team, or play for somebody else in a friendly, or whatever you want to do. It will be possible, but you'll have to be linked to that club, but that's fine. You can have multiple clubs.
Thanks, Steve. There's a couple of questions regarding some clarification around the number of club admins and team admins that will be allowed per club.
Okay. So club admin is just set as a role profile. So theoretically, you can have as many club admins as you want in a club. However, the club admins get approved by England Hockey. So if we see a load of, if we see 50 club admins requesting access from one club, we probably won't accept them all. We'll reach out to that club, speak to their chair and go, right, who should be getting access? We're thinking about just trying to provide some guidance around a sort of pro rata basis of, if you're if you've got 1,000 members, you can have 10 club admin. If you've got 900 members, you can have 9. That's made up numbers, by the way, but that's the sort of thought around it, just going, the bigger the club, the more club admin you'll be allowed. Team admin, that's built into the screens linked to the team. So every team has a primary contact and a secondary contact, which means you can only have 2 team admin per team. However, all the club admin also have access to do everything that a team admin will do. So if you've got 10 club admin, you've already got 1 person on, or 10 people per team, and then you've got the other 2, so that would make 12. If you've got 2 club admin, you've already got 2 on every team, and then the other 2 per team, so you've got 4. So hopefully that makes sense. There's 2 core for team admin, but every club admin is also a team admin.
Thanks, Steve. There is a question regarding the registration deadline for players.
I'm not 100% certain on that. I think it's probably, there's one for EHL, I know for certain. I'm not sure whether there is a regulation for other leagues. Ultimately, for the lower level leagues, the registration deadline is however long it takes you to process somebody registering on the system before your game. So if you've got a game at 1 o'clock and somebody wants to register at 12:30 and they register and then your club admin approves them in 5 minutes, they're available for 12:35. So certainly at the lower levels, the system will allow you to just keep adding players at any point. The higher you go up, it's all driven by the regulations for that competition. And I know that there is definitely a deadline for the EHL, and I would imagine there's deadlines for the Premier divisions in each area as well, and going down the pyramid. But I don't know what those dates are myself, because I'm more of a systems person than a competitions person. Mr. Barlow would be the man that would help with that.
Thanks, Steve. There's a couple of questions regarding when people will be able to go in and upload fixtures.
So you don't need to upload fixtures. All your fixtures are already in the system. That's the bit that's taken us a little bit longer than we hoped it would, but that's the bit we're also working with all the competition administrators around at the moment. All the fixtures are already loaded. So the only bits that the club admin / team admin might want to get involved in is adding a venue and adding a start time. The venues are all driven by a drop-down list as well. So we have populated that based on information we've captured through the club portal and through Sport Lomo and through the use of OMS over the last 12 to 18 months. So we have a list, which is what we believe is the full list of venues in the entire country. The reason we want to keep that as one single list is so that we can do, as I talked about, and say, that venue has had these people playing on it at this time, this is how much usage it is. If we allow people to enter their own venues, then everybody comes up with 8 different versions, and so it then becomes very difficult to log those. There is no issue with people requesting for us to add to that list, though. They just need to drop us an email to gms.support@englandhockey.uk, and we will add that venue, assuming that it doesn't already exist. Now, it might have a different name on our system, and so we just have to either agree that we're going to change the name, or we say to that club, actually that's the venue's name, so please use that. It's on there. So venue and start time, 2 things that need to be added to the fixtures. Other than that, all the fixtures are loaded.
Thank you. Keep the questions coming in. I'm going to make sure they're all answered in the FAQs, and apologies if I don't pick yours at random. I'm just doing a bit of a scroll and stop. How will we know who to select as the club admin?
So you might not. So the role of a club admin, so this is more team admin we're talking about, but for a club admin, your main role is to allow that you don't have to give them a team when you first give them access. So you can give them access and then leave it for a little while. They can then go in and add details to their profile, etc., etc. And then it's probably a conversation between the club and the team admin. So the team captain's going, I'm expecting to see Joe Bloggs on my drop-down list of players, and I can't. At which point the club admin can go, right, I need to put Joe Bloggs in the men's ones then. So you don't have to do that. The only bit you have to do as the club admin is approve that you know that that person is a member of your club. You don't have to enter the team at that moment in time.
Perfect. And yeah, there's quite a few questions regarding, is it the club admin's job to accept people to their club, or is that team admin's job?
It's club admin to accept the person to the club, which is why we're allowing multiple club admins.
Thank you. I'm just going to pick a couple more. Will GMS be available on an app?
Initially, we don't think so. And the reason for that is that it's all completely web, it's all completely mobile friendly. So the reason you would introduce an app is because the website doesn't work as well as a website. Ultimately, we believe that the team sheet fits on a screen, and so you don't really need a separate app than the website. So the website will just be mobile friendly. It's customized to work on a mobile screen, on a phone. So we don't believe at the moment that you actually need an app, because the mobile version of the site is built to work on phones with the functionality that you need. We will obviously review that if the feedback is that that's not working.
Perfect. Thank you, Steve. And sorry, I'm reading and trying to say it all at the same time. There's just some questions regarding where they can find the recording of these sessions and where all the information will be held. So I don't know whether it's worth just running through that again.
Yeah, so we have a page dedicated to the game management system on the England Hockey website. It's under it's under two sections, in fact. It's under the competitions part, and it's also under deliver. So the bit I know under deliver, so if you go to englandhockey.co.uk/deliver/GMS, or if you just go to the website, englandhockey.co.uk, along the top you use the navigation menu, click on deliver, and the first page that's available within the deliver section is the game management system page. Click on there. That has links to the training, has links to the videos, has more information around timescales, what's coming, etc., etc. So that is a good point of call. We know that historically, with the old website we didn't necessarily get those pages updated as quickly or as comprehensively as we would like. The new website, we do. So genuinely, lots of content goes on to that website every day, every 2 days. Once we've reviewed it, once we've completed FAQs, it all goes on there. That gets updated on a very frequent basis. So please do visit that first as a point of call if you've got questions. You can obviously then still email us if you need to, but we would encourage everybody to look at that web page themselves and to steer their members to that page so that their members who have questions can see that information as well.
Thanks, Steve. Conscious of time, so probably an idea to close off the questions there, and we can add everything else to the FAQs to be uploaded tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah, I'm happy with that. And please, yeah, thank you to everyone that's joined. Please don't think we're ignoring your questions. It's just we've done a few of these sessions, and there's so many questions that come in that if we tried to answer every single question, a lot of you would be sat there very bored, and a lot of you would be sat there for quite a long time because we have so many questions that come in. What we do is we download those questions, we drop them into our FAQs, we then check that there's no duplications, we link questions together. So we will definitely answer every question that has been sent in. Thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing those questions. Thank you for spending time listening to me. We genuinely hope that GMS is a real step change for you all, makes your lives easier as team captains, and helps us to move the sport forward. I'll just finish very quickly with the reminder of the information around training and support. So this video will be recorded and shared on the website. The FAQs will go on the website. Visit Hockey Hub to book any more training activity. Change request form is on the website. The support hub in GMS will be going live with help user documents, and you can use the email address gms.support@englandhockey.co.uk. Thank you.